G'day, my name is David Thomas Kay and I'm here to talk about fiction and fantasy. I write historical fiction and fantasy and I'm the author of a series called Circles of Time. The first storytellers were the cave dwellers, recounting their tribal wars and their experiences of hunting and gathering. As time moved on, they began to exaggerate their stories to entertain their listeners, and this has to be the first evidence of fiction based on fact. Their stories progressed into the fantasy of dreams and the creation of gods. You could say this was fiction based on fantasy. Aboriginal Dreamtime stories of how the world began. The stories of the rain serpent and the three sisters. Zeus of Greek mythology and Jupiter of ancient Rome, and Thor of Norse mythology. Zeus, Jupiter and Thor, all three of them gods of the sky and of thunder and lightning. Three different civilizations from following eras with the same beliefs, mythology passed down for centuries, and an endless source of material for today's writers and film producers. Vikings hired skulls from their own ranks to exaggerate and glorify their victorious battles. These Scandinavian poets created legends that were based on fact but verged on fantasy. Then we have the modern day fantasies of science fiction. The Day of the Triffids and Star Wars, Galactica and Dune, and the most fascinating of all stories for young and old, the endless number of children's fantasy books. They stir the imagination of a child, and often grown-ups, as they enjoy the suspension of belief. That's the space between fantasy and reality. The adaptation of television and cinema extends our fantasy, as we are persuaded to enter a new world of entertaining escapism. The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, The Chronicles of Narnia, Alice in Wonderland, Wizard of Oz, Peter Pan, Harry Potter, and The Never-Ending Story. These are only a small sample of the numerous children's classics enjoyed by all ages and recognised as expanding the development of a young mind. There are talking animals. Yes, there are talking animals. It's true, I've seen them. Mythical creatures, dwarves and centaurs, child protagonists, evil witches, adventures galore, and always the clash between good and evil. And it's not surprising how many of these protagonists fly like birds. Peter Pan, Harry Potter. Fantasy is escapism, and readers are willing to be transported to another world, to be entertained and to escape reality for a short time. But the rules of writing don't change because of the genre or the location. There are goodies and baddies everywhere, and a story must have a hero and a villain. I'll pause here for a look at some relevant slides.